Hello and welcome back to Tech Talks, the People and Planet podcast, your go-to resource for exploring the positive potential of technology in fostering a sustainable and brighter future for us all. I'm your host today, Tony Marsh, and joining us is Lukas, the co-founder and COO of Hello Dearest. Hello Dearest is revolutionizing the field of couples therapy with their innovative app. In this episode, we'll explore how they are breaking the stigma around couples therapy. Lukas will share some valuable insights into the challenges they faced and the strategies they're implementing to promote a positive perspective on seeking help. Through their application, they are empowering couples to proactively nurture their relationships, providing personalized support and tools for growth. By expanding their principles beyond just romantic relationships, they're also fostering healthier dynamics in various areas of life. So I'm really keen to jump into this, Lukas, but I thought first maybe you could give us a little bit of an intro into yourself and kind of what you're doing over there at the moment.
Sure. Thanks a lot for the invite, and thanks a lot for having me on your show. So I think you already did a great job in kind of outlining and describing what we do at Dearest. So we started 2 years ago with our initial kind of prototyping and then launched the app a couple of months later. We are active all over Europe. We have coaches all over Europe who are supporting our users. And we kind of found the claim for us with us to learn to love healthier. And at the same time, we have lots of couples using our service, but there are also a lot of singles. So it's also in couple therapy app, but you don't necessarily need a partner for that. So you can do it individually. You can bring your partner on board at a later point in time, or can also enjoy the coaching all by yourself. Yeah, I think that's it in a nutshell, but yeah.
Cool. No, sounds good. And so I guess it'd just be good to understand from your perspective, obviously, as a co-founder of the business, what was the kind of sort of origin of the company and the kind of sort of inspiration behind sort of creating a relationships therapy application, I guess?
Yeah, so the inspiration behind creating Dearest comes from our deep understanding of the importance of mental health and also the impact it has on individuals and especially their relationships. So my co-founder, Katharina, she's also a trained and experienced couple therapist. And I came together and we've quickly kind of found our passion about helping people improve their well-being. And then as we delved deeper into the topic, into the field, we also saw that there's a significant gap in accessible and convenient relationship support. So also from her practice and also from my experience, we both knew that couple therapy is highly effective, but it often faces barriers such as cost, the stigma also that you talked about earlier, and the limited availability. So kind of we joined forces and we saw this opportunity to leverage technology to address these challenges I just mentioned and create a platform around that can reach a wider audience in need. And we also witnessed the prevalence of relationship issues and the toll they can take on individuals and their overall well-being. So our goal was to provide this platform to offer relationship coaching and guidance and kind of empower singles, but also couples to not only enhance their communication, understanding, and connection, but also for us to have kind of a contribution. And we strongly believe that strong, healthy relationships, they really contribute to individuals' overall happiness and mental well-being. And that's kind of where it all started and what is still driving us today.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I think, I think a lot of people go through, sort of difficult relationships and I've kind of sort of been in some myself and it does certainly have an impact on your mental well-being as well as the relationship and even sometimes one bad relationship can impact other relationships that you have outside of that particular one. So yeah, no, it's really great what you're doing and yeah, absolutely commend that. And one of the things you mentioned actually there was around the stigma that surrounds couples therapy. You talked a little bit about how you kind of sort of addressing those challenges, but how have you kind of sort of tried to address that specific challenge? Because for me, that's probably got to be one of the biggest ones for you, right? And addressing that issue and kind of sort of promoting the idea that therapy is a positive and proactive step towards improving relationships. How have you kind of gone about that so far?
Yeah, so the stigma surrounding couple therapy is indeed a significant challenge. Something that we realized early on, and we're still kind of facing today. But what we try to do, and also saw some success in doing that, is, as you mentioned, to just be very proactive about it, to address it, to openly talk about it, and to promote the idea that therapy is a positive and proactive step towards improving relationships. It's also a step you can take independent from your partner, as I talked about earlier. And that's also where our kind of claim came from, that we are a couple therapy app, but you don't necessarily need to bring your partner. You might be facing kind of individual problems that you want to kind of work on by yourself, and that's something you can do with us. But kind of going back to how we address the challenge in a bit more detail. So we really focus on creating a user-friendly and also non-intimidating brand and platform. So we want the users, the couples, the singles to feel comfortable seeking help. So we designed our app to be really approachable and welcoming. We avoided clinical language. We instead used relatable and supportive communication throughout the app. That was kind of one major thing. And secondly, we implement a strong emphasis on education and awareness. So we provide educational resources on our app that all focus on highlighting the benefits of therapy. And by doing that, also dispelling common misconceptions. So through articles, videos, and also expert advice, we aim to inform and empower our users to overcome any reservations they may have about seeking therapy. And I think kind of to also take into account there's a huge privacy and confidentiality issue, I think, which is also playing into the stigma. So it's something we prioritize, and we understand that these privacy concerns can contribute to the stigma around therapy, because people might feel safer if their data and everything is obviously not openly shared, or it's something they can do in a way also anonymously. So we implemented security measures to ensure all that, that the data is protected, that everything is kept strictly confidential. And in the end, it also helps us to create a safe space and a trusted environment for people to engage in therapy, to open up, and to do that without fear of judgment or any breaches of privacy.
Absolutely. And so I know when we spoke before, you've kind of sort of talked about, not only the app kind of sort of providing in-app coaches, but also sort of self-learning content, assuming that's the part that you was talking about briefly before, as, approaching or coming onto the app as a solo person looking for help in certain areas. How do you kind of sort of balance those two aspects to ensure that users are receiving a personalized experience? Because I guess something like this, to make it work and make it work well, it does have to be quite a personalized experience for the user.
Exactly. I think that's the key aspect of what we do. It should feel individualized and kind of focus on what your issue is. So for us, it's all about ensuring that users receive kind of a personalized experience, because every person, every situation, every relationship, there might be similarities, but in the end, it's quite unique. So they have their own specific needs, challenges, and what we do is we strive to cater to those individual needs through this combination of personalized coaching, one-on-one coaching, or one coach and a couple, and also these self-learning resources. So our in-app coaches and they play a vital role in providing this personalized support. So they are all experienced professionals who are trained in couple therapy and relationship coaching. And our users have the option to schedule one-on-one sessions with them, where they can discuss their specific concerns, receive guidance on their issues, on their topics that they bring, and then, of course, also work on strategies tailored to the situation. And what we also try to do there is, during the onboarding, you get asked a few questions about your situation, and then we not give you like a list of 100 coaches, but we give you a selection of coaches that we think fit your specific situation. So it's also there already kind of a personalized experience. When talking about the self-learning content, it's something that we quickly realize that people also benefit from that. So it's not only about receiving coaching, but it's also about this, I would call it independent exploration of content, of topics. So to cater to this aspect, we provide a wealth of self-learning content. This includes education articles, videos, exercises. We also have learning journeys, as we call them, to a specific topic. There is a variety of exercises or videos, all done by our coaches. So you see, you will recognize the faces, and it's everything. And all this is something that couples can explore at their own pace, which I think is also quite important. And then when it comes to kind of what this content covers, it's a wide range of topics. It allows everyone kind of to focus on specific areas that are most relevant to their needs and interests. And I think it also works in kind of two ways. It's, for one, especially useful for users who are new to the topic, who might have never experienced couple therapy before. So it's really a resource for them to inform themselves about these topics. But what we also see, it's used as kind of a reminder or exercise between coaching sessions. So it's something people kind of go back to. Also, the coaches send kind of exercises to the users. And so it gives you something to do between the sessions. Yeah, and I think we can only personalize everything if we also kind of collect feedback, right? And so through user feedback and assessments, we try to continuously learn about the user's goals and challenges, and then collecting this data kind of helps us tailor the suggestions, the content suggestions to their needs, and then only provide kind of the most relevant resources that in the end align with the relationship dynamics.
Oh, no, absolutely. Yeah, that makes sense. And it seems you're obviously doing a lot on that part to ensure that personalized experience as well, which is great, and obviously key to what it is that you're doing. Another thing that I thought was really quite interesting as well. I know that sort of you've started to offer your app as part of employment packages as well. So how do you see the integration of the app into sort of corporate wellness programs affecting the sort of stigma around couples therapy and sort of mental health in general, really?
I think it can have, and what we're seeing that it already has, a quite transformative effect on the stigma around it. Because by offering our app, our services, our coaching approach as part of employee packages, companies also show and are kind of actively demonstrating their commitment to supporting the holistic well-being of their workforce, including their relationships. And as we see that more and more companies adopt our services into their wellness programs, I think it also contributes to a broader shift in society in the perception of couple therapy and mental health. It helps to break down the stereotypes and misconceptions that might still float around surrounding therapy. And it also helps to promote the idea that seeking support for relationships is a natural part of personal growth and overall well-being, because our services now live kind of next to career coaching, for example, and it just makes it a bit more natural. It takes the stigma around it, it lessens the stigma around it, and I think it only helps us to work on this topic.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think as I kind of sort of mentioned before in the intro, and I think you might have touched on it yourself already as well, that although your app does focus on romantic relationships, some of the same principles can be applied to family, co-worker relations, which again I'm sure as part of a corporate package could obviously have benefits on that side as well. So how do you see, as I mentioned, although it's kind of sort of more focused on romantic relationships at the moment, how do you see your app evolving in the future to address maybe those other areas more specifically?
So we definitely, for the future, we envision that our app evolves and addresses other types of relationships. So family, co-working relationships, in addition to the romantic relationships we already covered today. And I think it really, we recognize that the principles of effective communication, for example, or understanding and conflict resolution that you learn now in the kind of topic of couple therapy can be also valuable in other and various relationship dynamics. So we definitely plan to develop specific modules for that, or new learning journeys as a tool to broaden the scope, and that are then dedicated to family and co-worker relations. They will be more tailored to the content and resources to address also the uniqueness in these relationships, because they might be in the core similar when it comes to conflict resolutions, but in the end, it's still a different dynamic with your parents, for example. But by providing guidance and tools for improving, for example, family dynamics and fostering healthy co-worker relationships, we aim to empower individuals in more than just one aspect of their lives, and kind of, in the end, again, promote overall well-being and positive social connections. It's all about learning not only to love healthier, what we're now focused on, but learning to build and maintain healthy relationships, and that can be with anyone in your social circles.
Absolutely. And I know that sort of prevention is a key aspect of what it is that you're doing at the moment. Helping couples address the issues before they become too big to handle, essentially. So I guess, could you kind of sort of talk a little bit more about the strategies and the tools that you use to help users identify potential problems and address them before they get to that stage?
Sure. So firstly, we utilize comprehensive relationship assessments. There's an attachment style test, for example, that's been implemented into our app, where you learn about how you attach to other people, how you build attachments to other people. You might be avoidant, for example, so you avoid connections. Other people feel more secure in their attachment, and that's something, for example, that helps us there. And in the end, these assessments, they all help us to gain insights into the health of the relationships of our users. They help us analyze different aspects, such as communication, for example, trust, intimacy, also a huge topic that we see, and conflict resolution. And it all kind of provides a snapshot in the end for the user of their relationships strength, but also their areas for improvement.
Right.
And then kind of secondly, in a way, we offer our educational resources, our exercises that then exactly focus on these areas. So we cover topics like communication, emotional intelligence, conflict management, and it all helps our users to kind of develop a better understanding of what dynamics are really healthy, what relationship dynamics are healthy, and we help them acquire practical tools to navigate their challenges more effectively. And we also started to provide regular prompts and reminders. So users are encouraged to engage in ongoing self-reflection and relationship maintenance. So these reminders prompt our users to check in with each other and also with themselves, discuss important topics, for example, or just give kind of little activities that you can do with your partner to strengthen your connection. And in the end, by combining all these different aspects, we built the app to empower the users to identify potential problems early on, and kind of provide everyone with the knowledge, the tools to address these issues, as you mentioned, before they escalate. So there are lots of statistics out there that people usually wait like 6 years until they actually go to a couple therapist. And that's something we think is not really healthy to kind of just stay in this conflict. So we want to help them address their issues early on and to just foster a preventive approach to relationship care. And in the end, help couples build and sustain healthy and fulfilling relationships.
Absolutely. And I guess then for, anyone who may be listening and may be interested on the fence with this, I wondered if there was any sort of success stories of, maybe couples who had used the app and seen some really positive results in their relationship. Anything that you could share on that front at all?
Sure. So I think not obviously not naming any names, but what we've seen is that numerous couples come to us and that they experience in the end positive results for the relationship. So for example, we have couples who had been struggling with communications issues for years, and then through our app, they engaged in our coaching sessions and also actively utilized kind of the self-learning resources to kind of have something to do between the sessions, and also to just make it part of their relationship to talk about things, to connect. And what we've seen, like we get letters from them, for example, or emails where they talk a bit about what has improved since using our app. And when it comes to communication, they really reported that their ability to express themselves, to listen to each other, to find common ground has really improved. So that's, I think communication is a huge aspect where we see improvements for our couples. But then, as I mentioned earlier, briefly, that also lots of couples who've been facing intimacy challenges, they also come to us. And with the help of our coaches, they also learned here effective strategies to kind of reconnect emotionally, to have a space to talk about this openly, and to do it also from the comfort of their own home, so they don't have to travel to an office that might again feel a bit clinical. And in the end, it helped them to have again a more fulfilling relationship. And I think these stories that people also share with us, kind of going back to the point about the stigma around couple therapy, it's something that we try to encourage. So we try to encourage that people also share that they're going to couple therapy, share it with their friends, their family, just their environment, because I think in the end, only these open conversations and the importance of seeking therapy, it kind of is highlighted by sharing these stories. And in the end, we also use our social media platforms or other marketing ways to initiate these discussions, to share not only these stories, but also promote that therapy is not a sign of weakness, but a strength and a commitment to personal and, in our case, also relational growth.
Absolutely. Well, look, thanks so much, Lukas. I think that kind of sort of about wraps it up in terms of what we have time for today. So anyone listening to learn more about what Hello Dearest are doing at the moment, or to join their mission to remove the barriers around sort of couples therapy, visit their website, follow them on social media. Thank you for anyone that's listening and joining in to listen on Tech Talks, the People and Planet podcast. Stay tuned for more inspiring discussions, the positive impact of technology. And thanks again, and see you soon. Until then, stay curious and keep innovating. Lukas, it's been an absolute pleasure, and yeah, thanks once again for joining.
Thanks again, and had a blast, and yeah, thanks a lot.